All right, team. We are live for Wealth and Wellness Wednesday. Still working on my technology, y'all. I'm telling you, it's a never ever ending struggle for me. But I shall overcome my struggles with my technology. So let's get ready to jump in. I'll wait till hopefully a couple more people will jump on the stream today. It's Wealth and Wellness Wednesday, and it is super dark in here. I don't know. I think I need to do some lighting adjustments, I think. But anyway, I think that's a little bit better, hopefully. So anyway, guys, welcome in for Wealth and Wellness Wednesday. For those of you who don't know me, Marcy Batiste here. Hey, your ultimate power coach, helping you get your money and your mind right. All right. That's what we're here for. There's two things that change the game. One is your mindset, one is your money, and we work on both simultaneously. That's what ultimate power coaching is all about. Is really truly looking at how you think about things and how you envision things. There's a saying that you can't achieve what you don't believe, right? So again, it goes back to your mindset, and so that's why Wealth and Wellness Wednesday is not only just about your finances, which is a critical, important piece of it, which is your money piece, but it's also definitely about your mindset, and your mindset is what carries you into every area and every aspect of your life. So please do not underestimate that. Today's topic, how to help you heal your head and your heart after domestic violence. It's sort of a heavy topic. It is a heavy topic, but I really felt compelled today in particular. For one, October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. As many of you know, I'm a domestic violence champion. I choose champion over survivor because it puts me back in a position of owning my power, and I believe that there is power after the pain. I truly, truly believe that. I'm a walking demonstration of it. I'm a living testimony. So that for me, domestic violence champion is my preferred terminology over survivor. But definitely don't underestimate, there are phases we go through. So sometimes we're warriors, sometimes we're survivors, and then eventually we get to be champions of it. And that's when we're really in a position to use our life lessons to help other people. And fortunately for me, that is where I'm able to be at today. For those of you who follow me, my coaching style, Ultimate Power Coaching, Ultimate Power Credit, you know that I have 5 P's of wealth and wellness. To be present. So show up for yourself every single day. Be positioned. Make sure you're in the right positioning. You have the right people around you. Your circle is tight. That type of thing. Be patient. Show yourself some grace. Take time, but be persistent. Don't give up. Stick with the process. Do not be that girl or that guy who quits 3 feet from gold. Okay. And then the 5th part of that is the process. So in everything that we do to achieve goals, to make, meet our accomplishments and get the things done that we want to do, there's a process for everything. And as soon as you become strategic and intentional about putting procedures and processes in place, then the more successful you're going to be, and you're going to be able to achieve your goals and accomplish the things that you want to accomplish at a much faster rate. So again, the 5 P's: be present, be positioned, be prepared, be persistent, and have a process. Okay, so those are the 5 P's. I talk about those all the time. That ain't going to change no more. That's going to change about getting your mind and your money right, because everything goes hand in hand. And those principles, those pillars, are going to be key to your successes in being able to do a lot of the things that you want to do. So for those of you who don't already know my history with domestic violence and why this is heart work for me, why today's subject matter, healing your heart, your head, and your finances after domestic violence, why that's so important to me. It's important to me because on April 17th, 2012, I found myself in what I thought was one of the dopest relationships I'd ever been in. Looking back now, I know that it was one of the most toxic situations. Things that I mistook for love and affection and caring and those types of things were actually signs and symptoms of power and control. And that is a whole other topic. We won't have time to really dive into the psyche of abusers and things like that. But today, the healing your heart, the head, and your finances. This April 17th, not only was I in one of the dopest relationships, if you would have asked me that morning when I woke up, would I, by the time I went to bed that night, find myself standing in the mirror with 2 black eyes, scratches all over my body, 2 busted lips, black and blue with bruises, at the hands of the man who said, the entire time he was beating me, mind you, I love you. I love you. Punch, punch, punch. I love you. Smashing my head into the tile floor, holding me hostage in my own home. He kicked in my door. Were there signs along the way? Absolutely. Absolutely there were. Were there some red flags? You betcha. You betcha. Did I choose to unknowingly minimize those things? I did. And so some of the things we're going to talk about today about that healing process, guys, is not being hard on yourself. Because what I tell my clients, what I tell myself every single day, and when I look back on decisions and I think, you know what, probably wasn't the right decision. But when I look back, here's what I know to be true. That when I get up every morning, I don't get up with a mindset that I'm going to fail that day at anything that I do. Okay? And every decision that we make in every single moment, you're making decisions and you're operating based on the information that you have at the time. Okay? So when you look back, hindsight, as they say, the saying goes, hindsight is 20/20. Damn Skippy. Hindsight is definitely 20/20. Are you gonna know in every single moment how to make the absolute right decision? Nope. Not gonna know that at that time. But guess what? That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because you have the ability to forgive yourself for making the mistakes. Okay? For me, one of my things was, like I said, when I woke up that morning on April 17, 2012, I never thought that I'd go to bed that night. My house would have the door kicked in and that I wouldn't be able to sleep there that night and those types of things, based on everything that led up to that, right? So all of those other times I made the decisions that I made with the information that I had. I did the best I could. And so I had no choice but to forgive myself. But here's what I want y'all to understand. Looking in the mirror, when I escaped my abuser, I called my best friend, not knowing what else to do. Again, you can't beat yourself over the head. I didn't call 911 right then. I didn't call 911. Matter of fact, I never called 911. I never called the police. That's a whole other story. But you can't continue to beat yourself up over things that you don't do exactly right in the moment. So when I was standing, instead of calling the police, I called my best friend. I went to her house. I'm standing in G's bathroom, and she's an herbalist, amazing herbalist, by the way. And she's making salves for me, and she's doing all these things to try and get the swelling to go down out of my face and so forth. And I remember looking in the mirror that day, and I said to myself, how did I get here? How did I become that girl? Like, I know better. I watched my mom be beaten for much of my childhood. Every single weekend, like it was as predictable as going to the bank on payday. Okay? I knew what abuse looked like, so I thought. And we're going to talk about some of those things that get overlooked today. We're going to talk about some of those things that we sometimes miss because it's not the obvious, like, oh, this is domestic violence because somebody's getting the crap beat out of them. Okay? There's so many different types of abuse that it would absolutely floor you. But here's what I thought. Hey, Diana, thanks for joining in. Share the video out too, guys. I guess I forgot to say that, but this message could really bless somebody today. It could save a life today. But here's what I thought when I looked in the mirror that day. I thought, how did I become that girl? I know better. I saw it happen. I ran away from home when I was 13 because that wasn't the life I wanted for myself. And I remember telling my mother at the time, hey Chaz, if this is the life that you're going to live, if this is what you're going to choose for yourself, then guess what? You're on your own. I'm out. And I ran away from home. Well, I had already run away from home by then, but I was in communication with my mom. And that was the message I told her. I'm like, I'm not coming back as long as he's there. So you choose, right? You choose. I'm not coming back. And it took her a few months. It actually took her a few months. And you talk about something that's going to rip your heart out, is to think that your mom is choosing her abuser over her child. That's some shit that hurts. Okay? Y'all know I'm always keep it real with you. But what I remember saying to myself during that time when I was 13 was, one of the things that she always said was, I don't know if I can afford to do it on my own income. I don't know if I can afford to take care of us by myself. What I heard, what I received in that moment was that finances kept her in an abusive relationship that she should have been able to get out of, because she didn't feel like she had the financial wherewithal or the financial money at hand to be able to take care of our month-to-month expenses. She stayed in a relationship with a man that beat her every single weekend like clockwork. And I said to myself, you know what? Ain't never gonna be me. Ain't never gonna be me. No way, no how, it's not gonna be me. But here's what, standing in the bathroom mirror on April 17th, 2012, I realized about myself. I had an insecure, desperate little girl making decisions for me as a grown-up woman. There was a mindset there that the little girl inside of me was abused. She watched abuse. She'd been molested. So this little girl who all these traumatic things had happened to and she'd never healed from was out here in the streets as a grown-ass woman making decisions that she was not equipped to make. She didn't have the skills. She didn't have the tools. She didn't have the knowledge. So if I made a mistake, guess what? Guess why? I did the best I could with the information I had at each and every turn. Okay? So when I talk to y'all about forgiving yourself, I'm telling you what I know to be true. I'm telling you from experience. I'm telling you from living proof. I'm telling you from my own testimony. This is a requirement. You have got to learn to forgive yourself when you make mistakes and you make choices that turn out to be the wrong choices. You don't necessarily know that in the beginning. What I understood as I began the healing process and doing my self-work was that I had two women operating inside of me. Hey Prince, what's going on, Tommy? Thanks for joining in, guys. Share the video out. But there were two women living inside of me. There were two women. One was this dope ass corporate executive, had her stuff together, making six figures, knew what she was doing, didn't take no crap from nobody. Okay, that's the person that the world saw. That's the person my clients saw. That was the person they saw in the boardroom. That was the person they saw standing up giving presentations on behalf of one of the largest independently owned financial institutions. Okay, that woman, that's who they saw. But that insecure, desperate, needy, sad, scared, abused little girl who was seeking validation, seeking attention, seeking approval, seeking acceptance, that was the one, that's who was behind the scenes running my life and running my relationships. I want y'all to get that. I really want y'all to get that. And this is what I'm talking about. This is going to bless somebody today. And we might even run over on time today. And if we do, I'm not going to apologize for it, because that's what God meant it to be. But that's what people got to understand. You can look on the outside like everything is freaking great. You can operate in some areas of your life. That's why when I talk about my coaching, guys, I always say life, relationship, and business, they're different. They're different parts of you, and they require different pieces of you in order to function. And how you function in one area might be solid, but if either of the other two is off, your ship is rocking, okay? And that's what happens in abusive relationships, guys. 9 out of 10 times you got broken, scared, previously abused, needy, insecure, low self-esteem. That's who's running the show and calling the shots and getting us in these positions. And it's not your fault. If that's you, I'm talking to you. Whoever that is, I'm talking to you. It's not your fault. And you have to be willing to say, you know what? Damn, I did the best I could. And it ended up bad. It ended up wrong. The decision wasn't right. And that's okay. But it's not your fault. You got to stop. You got to stop. When somebody abuses you, you've got to stop taking responsibility for their choice to abuse you. You have to, guys. You have to. And when I say this, I'm not, like I said, we're going to talk about forms of abuse. So I'm not just saying if somebody's punching you in the mouth. This could be your cousin who just acts a plumb damn fool, and every time you see them, they're constantly putting you down, making derogatory comments, being judgmental, doing things, saying things, acting in ways that steal your soul and punch holes in your spirit. Get rid of them. Get rid of them, guys. Because those people are feeding that insecure, scared, needy, dependent little person, boy or girl, that's running the show on the inside of you. Okay? You can put on all the designer labels you want. You can't dress up a destroyed spirit. It doesn't work. Because if it could have been done, I would have been did it. Okay? It's not proper English. I get it. It's not. But listen, well, I'm telling y'all, I'm passionate about this because I know it to be true. Healing's not easy. It's not. It's hard. It's hard and it's scary. And dang, like it sucks so bad sometimes. But guess what? There's power after the pain, baby. Those of you who've been following me for a long time, you know that's one of my things. There's power after the pain. Like, it won't always be that way, but you've got to summon up the courage and find a way to start that healing process. Healing is not easy. Healing's scary. It's hard. Here's some things I'll tell you about your healing journey. Number one, be gentle with yourself. You know, I just invested 10, 15 minutes talking about all the reasons why it's not your fault. So be gentle with yourself. Give yourself grace. Give yourself a hug every now and again and say, you know what? Whew, child. Shit's kind of messed up right now, but I'm doing the best I can. And I'm going to keep trying. So when we talk about those five P's, guys, be patient with yourself. But be persistent. Okay, don't give up. Don't give up on you. No matter what. Because when somebody else, this is what I know to be true about most people. When somebody else needs us, man, we show up. We're ready. Do we need work gloves? Do we need work boots? What do we need? Do we need tools? You know, what do I need training? Do I need to take a class? Do I need a certification? Do I need a license? I'm going to get what I need to get to show up for everybody else. But guess what, guys? You got to get what you need to get to show up for yourself. Get what you need to show up for yourself, to heal your head, to heal your heart. We'll talk about the finances in a little bit. Get the tools that you need, right? Along that, seek help. It's okay to ask for help. Y'all, listen, real quick. When I was going through my recovery process, a few days after it happened, one of my good friends, her name is Celie, she said to me, she said, hey, they have these classes over at this women's center, and it's called Domestic Abuse Survivors Classes, and I think that you should go. For what? It only happened this one time. See, that was my mindset, guys. This is how your mindset will mess you up. Because my mindset was it only happened once. But in reality, there was lots and lots and lots of little red flags in that relationship. That was the only time somebody knocked down my door and whooped my ass, okay? But in the relationships before that, what I know to be true, looking back, hindsight 2020, is now I see they were all abusive in many different ways. They were every single one of them. Every single one of them. I was the common denominator. My picker was broken. I was making choices based off the mindset of an abused child who had never healed her wounds. How was I supposed to figure it out? How was I supposed to get it right? Hell, I'm surprised that I was even able to get up some mornings and put on my fake costume and walk out into the world and act like a corporate executive. Sometimes I still look back and like, I don't know how you operated in business so strong and so confident, but personally you were a freaking train wreck. A train wreck. Like y'all just have no idea. But that's the thing. It's there, guys, you have to get help. When I walked into, she finally convinced me. The only way she could convince me would go, because I agreed. I said, I'm going to go. But I knew in my head, in my mind, my mindset, right, was I'm just going to say yes. So she'll be quiet and she's going to leave me alone. But then I'm not really going to go because I don't need it. I'm not that girl. I'm not her. That's not me. I'm not a survivor. I wasn't blah, 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 blah. I said it all, right? But she pulled my card and she said, you know what? I'm going to go with you. Matter of fact, I'm going to drive you. Oh, so now I can't even get no flat tire because she got me in her car. She's driving me to the place, and I walked in the room, and there was 15 other women in that room, or 12 other women in that room. They're sitting around this long oval table, and you had to go around the room, and everybody had to introduce themselves and introduce why they were there. You didn't have to use your real name. You could do however you wanted to be addressed in the group. That's the name that you could give. So, okay, fine. They're going around the room. I'm probably like, I don't know, number 9 or 10 out of this group, right? There's a few more people after me. When the facilitator got to me, I couldn't even say my name. I couldn't even say a name, let alone my own name, or tell you why I was there. Tears. That's all I had. That's all I had. Just tears. They skipped me. This went on for another 3 weeks. Another 3 weeks. So by the time we got to week 4, I kept sitting towards the end, right? Because now I know where the circle rotates. So I'm sitting towards the end all the time. By the time they get to me in week 4, I could say my name, finally. And I said, I was abused by my boyfriend. He kicked in my door 3 weeks ago. He beat me. He held me hostage. And I need help. I need help. So get help, guys. There's nothing shameful or embarrassing if you make a decision that turns out badly, or you find yourself in a situation that you don't know how to get out. Get help. There's a National Domestic Violence Hotline. That number is 1-800-799-7233. It's safe. The website is called thehotline.org. Great national resource. It will direct you to resources in your local area. Look for women's group. Look look for the help. It's there. Okay? If you need help and finding resources, if the hotline can't help you, you can always reach out to me. I may not necessarily know, but I can help you get on the right direction towards where you need to go for your healing to begin. Cry when you need to. Like, I literally cried in front of all these strangers for 4 weeks before I could even say my name. So cry when you need to. You got to find an outlet for that pain. For me, it's always been my writing, my journal, that type of thing. Like whenever I'm in like the worst headspace ever, I turn to my paper and my pen. That's what I do. That's who I am. That may not work for everyone. Some of you might need to take a bubble bath. Some might need to take a walk in the park. Some of you might want to paint or draw or sing or whatever the case may be. Find an outlet for the pain while you're getting your help, because you need to constantly be refilling your cup as you're pouring out all of the toxins that are in you. Okay? That being said, I wrote a book a few years ago called Surviving the Rain to Find the Rainbow. Okay, this is the book. Surviving the Rain to Find the Rainbow. A 5 steps to domestic violence recovery. Okay? So when I tell y'all that I don't have a problem being transparent, my story's in here. But this book is not just a feel-good book. This book is a resource. When we talk about getting tools, there's this book, there's other books like this that you can use that are tools that will start helping you heal your head and heal your heart. Many of you know I do financial and credit coaching. There are resources available that can help you restore your finances, because that was the thing for my mom. So when y'all hear me talking about this credit stuff and this money stuff and get your money right, first of all, I was a banker for 30 years. Second of all, that one thing, the finances, kept me and my mother in her abusive relationship, which then by extension became my abusive experience. Because of finance, guys. So I'm passionate about finance. I'm passionate about domestic violence. I'm passionate about helping women. I'm passionate about helping men. I'm passionate about helping people. My goal, change the world. If it's one woman, one man, one person at a time, change the world. We have that ability. But I want to talk a little bit about surviving the RAIN. So RAIN is actually an acronym, right? It stands for realization, acknowledge, investment, and new normal. The realization piece, guys, you have to realize what abuse is. So remember back when I told you that I was like, I had been in all these other relationships that were abusive, but I just didn't even recognize it until somebody laid hands on me, right? Like he had to punch me in my face, hold me, kick me, beat me, all these other things before it registered with me that I was being abused. So I want to go over real quick some of the other forms of abuse, because that falls into that realization. You have to realize and you have to recognize. So you have to recognize the signs, and then you have to realize that it's happening to you, and that's super hard to admit. It's super hard to admit. Like even if you kind of see it and you kind of know, it's super hard to get to kind of wrap your arms around. So realizing that the different forms of abuse. So you've got things like emotional abuse, right? You've got verbal abuse. You've got stalking. You've got cyber stalking. Oh my gosh, I was just talking to a gentleman yesterday, and he was telling me about his experience where somebody had actually flown in from Canada that he had met online. He'd never met the person and had talked to them on the phone maybe a few times. She packed her bag, flew from Canada to where he was in the United States, and showed up at his doorstep, rang his doorbell. That's stalking to the next level, okay? So stalking, cyber stalking, and then psychological. Like, so you've got your emotional abuse where somebody's constantly playing with your emotions. That's the person that makes you kind of feel like you're walking on eggshells, right? But psychological is where they actually take that emotional abuse kind of up a notch. And psychological abuse uses things like threats and tactics of intimidation to kind of keep you in line. Because, see, people think that domestic violence is about, they think that it's about love, or it's about, you know, possessing you or whatever. It's strictly about power and control. Control and power. And that's what sets abusers off when they feel like something is not within their control or within their power. They tell you to do something, you don't do it exactly right. Okay? Acknowledgement. Acknowledging that not only that it's happened, but that it's happened to you. In the book I gave, there's a series where a sequence where I walk you actually through writing out your own acknowledgement statement, because sometimes you got to actually see it in writing to be able to receive it mentally and emotionally, right? And then, of course, the other type of abuse is financial abuse, which is withholding access to funds, withholding access to finance. You know, the guy who wants to just give you an allowance, or if you want to go buy soda pop, like, you got to ask him for permission first, that kind of stuff, those financial abuses. So the realization, the acknowledgement, the investment, you have time investments, you've got energy investments, you've got emotional investments. There's all types of different things that you're constantly investing in all at once, right? And so understanding the types of investments that you're making, being able to look at the types of people you're investing in, the types of things, events, organizations that you're investing in. You know, where is my emotional investments going? Because what happens is a lot of us end up emotionally bankrupt, both inside domestic violence relationships and outside of abusive relationships. We can still end up emotionally bankrupt even if we weren't abused, because we're mismanaging those personal investments. Does that make sense? So you've got the realization, you've got the acknowledgement, you've got your investments, and then the last piece, guys, is new normal. The N in RAIN stands for new normal. And we underestimate that. So when y'all are sitting there and you hear the story of about, let's say, a woman who has gotten out of an abusive relationship and then ends up going back to her abuser. And, you know, we get real judgy about that. I'm guilty. I used to be judgy when I was a teenager, and I would judge my mom and I would judge my auntie. Because I seen them, you know, being beaten and whatnot. I was real judgy, like, I would never do that. That would never be me. Blah, 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 blah. All the things that you say as a child, speaking from a child's mind, because you're a child, not staying in a child's place, right? Real judgy about it. Your new normal is what happens when you get out of a situation, even if it's not physically abusive. Even if we're talking about something financial, we're talking about something emotional, even if we're talking about getting away from a stalker, whatever. Your new normal means that however your life looks at this point is drastically different than the space that you're used to operating in. Okay? So you got your old normal, what you're used to, and I used to always say, like, I was addicted to chaos. So for me, those verbally abusive, emotionally abusive, all those other types of abuse that I was going through with those toxic people, my stalker, crazy stalker, yeah, all of that was chaos, right? In my mind, it was just chaos, but it was kind of exciting because it gave me something to talk about. Low key, what it did was distract me from the fact that the situations that I was in was unhealthy, and they were killing me at a slow, day-to-day rate. They were killing me. I didn't recognize that abuse was killing me until it literally had me on the ground, fist in my face, knee in my back, okay? And I don't want that for anybody. I don't want that for anybody. So the new normal piece gets hard because when you're so used to the chaos and that, like, that person, you know, I tell people all the time, like, the reason people end up going back, because the new normal is hard. it's hard to drill that in. It's hard to learn how you walk in that space without that person. It's hard to learn where you walk in that space, particularly if you were financially dependent on someone. Like, that's been kind of like my saving grace for my situation, because there was a point in time after my abuse where I got it for the first time. Like, I understood like why women go back. Because, and it sounds crazy, I know it sounds crazy, but people go back because all times ain't bad times, right? So this particular relationship was a 2-year relationship for me. And like I said, at the time, until it like came crashing down on me, I thought that it was one of the dopest relationships I'd ever had. We had fun. We went dancing all the time. We partied. We threw parties. Like, just so much fun. But in between there were things that I didn't recognize that were power and control in its most basic forms. So I'll give you an example. There was one day, he had come to my house. We were going to go out that night. And he had asked me the day before, like, what are you going to wear tomorrow, whatever. And I said my red dress. And he said, okay. So when he showed up at my house that next day, he had on a red polo shirt. And I came downstairs in a teal and white sundress. I didn't even get down the stairs good. I got to the middle landing and he said, where's the red dress? I said, oh, it's too hot today. I'm living in Phoenix. It's 100 and hell in Phoenix in the summertime. So I had like sundress. No, you said you were going to wear the red dress. Where's the red dress? I know I was going to yesterday when you asked me, but it's hot today, so I changed my mind and I'm wearing this. Long story short, by the time he repeated about 6 different times, where in the hell is the red dress, I just went upstairs and put on the red dress because I didn't know no better. He wanted us to match. I thought in the moment, like, oh, okay, that's kind of cute. I'll do it, right? No. Number one, I'm going to make you wear what the hell I tell you to wear. And number two, everybody who sees you going to know you belong to me. Property, ownership, right? Understanding these overlooked signs, guys. There was a story that I shared late last night, and it's about a woman who was murdered in front of her 3 young children by her husband. He shot her 10, 12, I can't remember how many times in front of her children. And the pictures that were posted with that were a trigger for me. And my heart broke all over again. Because in every single one of those pictures, they all had on matching outfits. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with wanting to go out in matching outfits, guys. Don't get that twisted. I'm not saying in every instance, if y'all want to dress alike or whatever, that's a power and control issue. But what I'm saying is, in my situation, because that was forced upon me, that was a power and control thing. If it's something y'all just want to do, cool. Y'all both agree on it. That's y'all thing. That's your vibe. That's your flavor, whatever. Go for it. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. But I'm saying when somebody forces something upon you, whether it's what you wear, how you dress, where you go, how you act, how you talk, what kind of shoes you wear, what brands you wear, if it's forced upon you, it's a sign that oftentimes gets overlooked. Okay, guys? So the last piece that I want to talk about is the financial piece, because so many people and so many families are destroyed because of the financial piece. And I'm looking at this, this pandemic now, and I'm looking at the numbers of unemployed people going up. I'm looking at credit scores going down. I'm looking at rates of domestic abuse reports being triple what they were this time last year. Police reports, calls to the hotline, all that kind of stuff. Financial stress is one of the biggest causes of domestic abuse, because the abuser, normally being the person who's responsible for the finances, the provider, so we can call them, they've lost control over that. They've lost their job. And if that's what you perceive your value to be, is that your value is that you're this provider and you can no longer do that for your family, guess what? Your stress level goes through the roof. So I talk about finances, I talk about credit, and I talk about credit repair in particular because a lot of times we'll stay places that we know we have to find a way to get out of because of finances. And then once we get out, we're like maybe subject to go back because our credit's ruined, we have no money, we have no job skills, we have no experiences, because that person withheld all of those things. Again, multiple types of abuse, guys, all ending up in one outcome, and that is the destruction of the person who's being abused. Okay? There was something else I was going to say on the financial piece of it, and it slipped my mind. But really, guys, to kind of bring this all back home, your head, your heart, your finances, domestic violence attacks every single aspect of your being. Not only does it destroy you if you're the person being abused, but it crushes the people that love you. And a few years ago, I started sharing photos, and I actually did a video on YouTube about my experience. And it's about an hour long, so it's pretty long, but this is actually getting long. We're at about 40 minutes, so I need to wrap it up. But when I did that video, I shared photos of myself in that video, and every time someone sees it, they reach out to me. And I didn't realize, because I had done my healing work, I had done my heart work, I had done my self work, I was in a place where I was prepared to talk about my abuse. I was prepared. I mean, I'm a public speaker. That's what I do, right? I write books. That's what I do. I told my story. That's what I do. But the people who love me don't do that. They don't do those things. And I didn't do a good job of preparing them for what I was about to do when I shared those pictures. And it really, truly, it was a trigger. And now when I post the stuff related to that, I always post a trigger warning, because if you're someone who's been abused, or you know someone who's in an abusive situation, things like that can be something that takes you down a really, really bad place. And I don't want anyone to look at that and see that. So understand that the people who love you, nothing may not have ever physically touched them. It may not have affected their finances, their life, their livelihood, so you think. But because they love you the way they do, they are affected by it. For those of you who love someone who's in an abusive relationship or a toxic relationship, the one thing I would ask is that you don't constantly say, just leave. You need to leave him. You need to leave her. Because what I'll tell you is they know. They know that. They know that that's not what they need from you. Because just like this young lady that I mentioned in the story who was shot in front of her children, she was murdered by her husband because she asked for a divorce. Okay? When I ended my marriage and asked for a divorce, my husband turned into a stalker. Okay? He stalked me. He followed me. He called like crazy shit that I would have never, ever in a million years have expected. Okay? So they don't need you to tell them to leave. They know that they need to get out. What I would ask of you is that you do research and help them devise a plan to leave safely. Not only do they need a plan of escape, but they need a plan of refuge. Okay? They need to know, once I get gone, once I get out of that, how am I set up? Where do I go so they can't find me? Where do I go so that they can't reach me? Because that's going to be part of creating that new normal. And y'all, you got to start building that new normal before you leave your old. Because you'll get in that new normal, stuff will get hard, you'll get scared, You'll get vulnerable, and all he's got to do or all she's got to do is say the right thing, and you're subject to go back to what you've always known, to your comfort zone, back to the chaos that you're familiar with. So for those of you, like again, I said, if you love somebody who's in a relationship like that, do research to help them create a plan, a safety escape plan, and then a plan of refuge, where they're going to go, what they're going to do, how they're going to survive, how they're going to pay their bills, how they're going to